Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Ben Kiker.
There were lots of, let's call them, early warning signs, Andrew, that I had a portion control problem with alcohol, cocaine, and crystal methamphetamine, which is actually what really took me down in a pretty big, spectacular way. And 2009 is when I really hit the wall, and this issue had been building for me, and to the point where I had to hit the pause button on work. And I went to a 30-day residential treatment program, also known as rehab. And when I went to that program, I was incredibly afraid that I would hear the following: you need to stay longer. And all I wanted to do, Andrew, was get out of that program and get back to what I perceived was my big life. The big life, the big job, the big car, the big house. And so I played the perfect little rehab student who always sat in the front row, took great notes, said, "That's interesting. Thank you. Wow, you really changed my perspective," and built this amazing plan of all the things that I was going to do when I left. And 72 hours after leaving, I ended up relapsing. And when that happened, I fell into a place of what today I look back on as debilitating fear. Every morning I woke up with the following in my head: you are going to lose your job today. You will never work in this town again. Any success that you've had absolutely nothing to do with you. Your partner, now husband, is going to leave you. Your friends will abandon you, and all that you've worked to build, you will lose. And that's the way that I woke up every morning. And I went to work as a CMO for a technology startup in the spotlight, big company, and acted as if everything was fine. And it nearly killed me. I'm going to pause there for a moment and see if there's anything that you want to double click on before I keep going.
Well, gosh, I'm actually wondering how you functioned on the job, and not just in any job. As you said, it was a C-suite job. You were a chief marketing officer.
I was a weekend warrior. I would, and by the way, this is very, very similar, Andrew, to other high performers who become addicted. I would do everything that I could to protect my job. That was number one. And orchestrate things in a way that would allow me to basically use, get loaded, and escape on the weekends. The problem, though, is that the weekends started to become longer and started to have more of an impact on what I was doing. And I also was able to actually put together a little bit of time. I would be clean and sober for a month or 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, but then I would relapse and it would start the cycle all over again. And then I would have to work, very hard to start to re-engage and get back on track.
So how did you finally get over the wall of addiction?
So what happened was I hit the pause button on work and I stepped away from that big job, and I took almost a 2-year break. And I'm incredibly grateful for the resources that I had that allowed me to do that, and for the resources that I met during that journey that really helped me start to build some momentum around recovery. And, by the way, during that break, I got to experience the best of what recovery could provide. But I also had some pretty gnarly, harmful resources as well. And then my moment of clarity came in 2013. I had been clean and sober for about 4 months, and I started using one weekend, and I think had been using for about 72 hours. And I'll never forget this moment. There was something inside of me that said, if you don't stop right now, if you don't stop right now, you will not make it through the day. And I did something that I had become incapable of doing before, which is I stopped and I came home. And it was one of those beautiful spring mornings that if you are drunk or high, you absolutely hate, because you walk in and the sun is shining and the birds are chirping. And I'll never forget sitting in the living room of our home and just having a moment of clarity of it is never going to be any different for me. Anytime that I put a substance into my body, I am always going to end up in the exact same place. Alone, scared, the list goes on. And I made the decision the next day to get back into my recovery program and reconnect with people that I had met in recovery, going to recovery meetings, including 12-step meetings. And I got back on the horse, so to speak.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.